fire and flame, for light, for strawberry ices, for cooking, for roasting coffee, for hatching eggs, for heating,
Dentro tiene una cerámica.
to produce electricity. Energy from dung and waste. Ever since men first learned to make fire, they have needed fuel. Today, 65% of the world's population still cook on wood. The bush knife gnaws at the tree. The axe fells it. In the course of time, the forest vanishes. This is compounded by overgrazing, the result of excessively large herds. Many peoples today see that their continued existence can no longer be guaranteed. Bare mountains and plateaus, the next stage of the ecological catastrophe. It's hard work to collect the fuel to prepare the daily meal. In areas where no more trees grow, the competition for fuel is fierce. The smoke from a wood fire is particularly dangerous to the health of women. Bottle gas is more pleasant, but it can cost more than the food in the pot. But we don't only need energy for cooking. Here in Morocco, energy is vital if anything is to grow at all. Groundwater is pumped over distances of more than 5 kilometers to produce this fertile irrigated field. This generator produces energy for craftsmen in Tanzania. Without energy, there would be no orders and no income. And without energy, there would be no cozy evening in front of the TV, as this Moroccan farmer is enjoying. Large-scale livestock farming for meat production also brings in its wake a high level of water pollution. Flies and vermin breed in rivers and streams that are used for sewage. In the village, as in the town, the water arteries which once brought life are transformed into sewers and rubbish dumps, the reflection of the throwaway society, the perfect breeding ground for disease and epidemics. This idyllic little hut has a specific purpose, complete with flush. Wherever and whatever people consume, there's always something left over. Solid waste and wastewater, which is considered to be of no further use. Whether in this slaughterhouse in Burundi or in this citrus juice factory in Belize in the Caribbean. The measures we take to counter damage to the environment must be as many and as varied as the causes of that damage themselves. One focus of German development aid is industrial, urban and rural environmental protection and the dissemination of renewable energies such as biogas. Biogas is counted as a renewable energy source which does not add to the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So what may appear to be useless waste today can tomorrow be the raw material for producing gas. The GTZ, German Technical Cooperation, has been disseminating biogas technology to developing countries since 1980. The division responsible is GATE, the German Appropriate Technology Exchange. Head of division, Professor Alexander Witkowski, explains that you can't just knock up a biogas plant yourself. These plants are an example of technology that has to be properly constructed and operated. Biogas technology is not only there to produce energy, it produces organic fertilizer, and he thinks this is perhaps the most important point, it helps reduce pollution and further damage to the environment. From the start, GATE worked on the principle that biogas technology could only be disseminated in a multidisciplinary effort. Since the program was launched, 66 experts have worked in interdisciplinary teams in more than 30 country programs. They brought with them their skill and expertise from the fields of agriculture, sociology, waste and wastewater disposal, environmental protection, and conservation of natural resources. More than 2,000 biogas plants have been commissioned directly by German projects. But what is biogas? Where does it come from? How is it stored and used? To answer these questions, let's take the example of a farm. We have the farmhouse, the barn, and next to it, built below ground level, the biogas plant. A biogas plant always has three principal parts: the inlet basin that you see on the right-hand side, the digesting chamber in the middle, and the extension chamber on the left. Since cattle or pigs generally supply most of the raw material to produce biogas, the plant is located in the immediate vicinity of the barn. The plant is filled regularly with animal dung. The mass slips down the pipe into the digesting chamber, where it's fermented. In the course of fermentation, the biogas is produced. In this plant, it's stored directly above the sludge. The pressure of the gas forces the digested sludge upwards into the extension chamber. The farmer can remove the digested sludge from the basin and use it as manure for his fields. But what really happens inside the digesting chamber? Without light and air, three groups of bacteria decompose and transform the organic compounds in the biomass, like carbohydrate, protein and fat. The most important of these three groups is methanosarcina. Methanosarcina is extremely sensitive to sudden changes in its environment. It needs a constant temperature in its dining room. If the temperature drops, it loses its appetite. If it rises, methanosarcina initially steps up its work rate, but then tires rapidly, loses interest in eating and ultimately in life itself. The fruits of its labor are combustible biogas, a mixture of 60 to 70% methane and 30 to 40% carbon dioxide, and trace gases and sludge which can be used as high-quality manure. In the course of time, many a biogas plant owner has developed a special relationship with his methane bacteria, for they supply the biogas which lights his house, cooks his meals and cools his drinks, and the biosludge to make his land fertile. All in all, the biogas plant can change the living conditions of the farmer on a permanent basis. Depending on the prevailing climatic conditions, various models of biogas plant can be built. The dome biogas plant, with an underground brick dome, is the original Chinese family-level biogas plant. Local masons can easily learn how to build the dome. The cement and bricks needed are available anywhere in the world. So, to build the plant at least, no imports are needed. The Gobar plant from India consists of a brick cylinder as a digesting chamber, with a steel drum on top to store the gas. The drum floats on top of the sludge. This plant can only be built in countries where steel and anti-corrosion treatment are available and do not cost a fortune. The border floating drum plant is a combination of these two systems. It has the advantage that the gas holder is floating in a water ring and is not in direct contact with the sludge. This tunnel model is yet another development. With a capacity of 250 cubic meters, it acts as a disposal plant for the toilets of boarding schools in Burundi. Another very simple solution is to spread a plastic foil over a pit and let the biogas gather in it. This 800 cubic meter plant comes from the north of the Ivory Coast. Now we've looked at the theory. Here are a few practical examples from the GTZ's fieldwork in developing countries. One family in a Tunisian village has had a biogas plant for 4 years now. The wife of the family reports that she's never had any problems with it. She uses biogas to cook the family's meals 3 times a day. The best thing about the biogas, though, is that they now have light in the house, and their sons can do their homework in the evening without any difficulty. Their daughter can weave carpets after sunset. Soon they plan to sell the carpets at the local market to bring in extra income. They use the biogas to run a refrigerator too. The farmer's wife recommends the biogas plant to all her neighbors.
Yes, biogas has been something recent for Belize, and I'm one of the 13 farmers that have one. And I don't regret investing in it, especially since I am farming in a very remote area. I'm getting benefits from it by running my stoves. We have converted my stoves into biogas. I will be equipping the farm with lamps. I have been extracting biofertilizer for my vegetables and row crops. And it improved the environment in a whole, because before the biogas plant was constructed, the waste from the pig used to go down into the streams. Today that has significantly improved the environment around. And I think we should encourage more farmers to go into the biogas plant operation.
Biogas is a great help to Mama Rambo when she looks back to the times when she used wood to roast the coffee beans. Now there's hardly any smoke and it's much faster. She can sell 3 kilos of coffee a week at a Arusha market in Tanzania, her own harvest produced in her own roaster. Before, we just threw out the dung when we cleaned out the pig pen, Senor Cobb reports in Belize. Then one day the engineer Pedro Kramer came and said, "That's a heap of gold. Why are you throwing away good money?" You see what I mean. We built the biogas plant, and today I see what he meant. It really is worth its weight in gold because it produces gas. Biogas also means a clean pig pen, no more mosquitoes, and the work is easier. As far as I'm concerned, things couldn't be better. I'm very glad that we've invested the money in a biogas system.
Todo para mí es bastante bueno. Estoy muy contento de haber invertido dinero para construir un sistema de biogás.
This cheese factory in the Tanzanian village of Mulala produces 8 kilos of cheese a day. The cows in the barn supply the milk and the gas to produce the cheese. 3 shops in Arusha, 30 kilometers away, sell the cheese and thus guarantee a regular income for several of the families in Mulala. For several years now, the Mugera cooperative has processed Burundi's fruit. Since 1987, the plant has run on biogas. Ketchup and jam can now be sold without taking into account the price of charcoal. The cooperative's products are not only sold in the supermarkets of Bujumbura, but also in small village shops throughout the country. An important argument in favor of biogas technology is that it can be integrated into the organic cycle of the small holding. Forage grass, which also plays an important part in erosion control, is chopped and fed to cattle. Cattle, which are kept indoors at least overnight and don't have to look for their own fodder, are better fed and give more milk. The byproducts of the cow's digestive system are mucked out of the barn and into the biogas plant. Well mixed with water, the dung is a veritable banquet for the waiting methane bacteria. If the plant is filled on one side, the same quantity of digested sludge flows out into the extension chamber on the other side. Where the land slopes steeply and the fields lie below the biogas plant, ditches are the easiest way of spreading the manure. The sludge contains nutrients which plants can use directly, and it has a high liquid content, which has a proven track record in increasing harvest yields. This was a good harvest of forage for the cattle. Here, on the farm of the Kayan family, in the village of Ban Nonggang in Thailand, we find another biogas plant. Two brothers live here with their wives, 2 children, their grandparents and a sister. The whole extended family spent 12,000 baht on the biogas plant. Siripon Kayan runs the farm with her husband Winya. She's responsible for the plant. Siripon has to muck out the barn. Take care of the animals, and fill the biogas plant time after time. The sale of milk from the 15 cows is a valuable source of income. The family also grow potatoes and tobacco. Siripon's brother-in-law, Promin, and his wife, Bunromezi, not only cook the meals for the whole family using biogas. They also prepare 10 different dishes every day, which they sell at the neighboring market of Ban Ged Noi. Since the family has been producing its own energy, it no longer needs to buy gas, and thus saves 360 baht a month. The ingredients for the 300 portions are bought fresh every day. Half the day is spent preparing the food. The day starts early, at 3 in the morning. The dish prepared the day before is seasoned again and warmed up. Then it's off to the market. When he has no school, 7-year-old Siripon goes with his parents. It's only 10 minutes drive to the market in Ban Ged Noi, where the family spread out their delicacies. Normally, Bunromezi and Promin manage to sell all their food in the 3 hours the market lasts. The small portion costs 5 baht, the large portion 10 baht. They make 300 baht, about $11, clear profit a day since they started to cook with biogas. And they can repay the loan for the plant without any difficulty. Economical plants like the kayans need regular maintenance, and the craftsmen or women who build it must have been properly trained. From the very start, one focus of the biogas program has been training for all those involved to ensure the continued dissemination of the technology. Training activities are aimed at agricultural extension agents, engineers, craftsmen and women, farmers and communal and industrial planners. Money spent on training programs, on disseminating information and visiting biogas farmers to listen to criticism as well as praise must be considered an investment in the future and not additional unproductive costs. One argument which convinces the visitors no bottle gas has been needed here since the biogas flames started to burn.
It gives me most pleasure to welcome all of you here this morning, especially the women, but also because you too are interested in what is happening with biogas, and you are probably users yourselves, and you will all be learning from each other. So I welcome you again to this workshop, and I wish you a successful 2 days.
Lucy Engleton of the Belize Rural Women's Association opens a seminar for biogas users. Participants will spend 2 days swapping experience gained with biogas and either learning about biogas technology or refreshing their knowledge of it and how it can be integrated into a small holding. The next step will be for craftsmen and women to specialize in the particular characteristics of biogas technology in this area. One focal point of training for biogas craftsmen in Bolivia and Colombia is the technique needed to build a reinforced concrete gas holder. The framework is built in steel and wire mesh. Then several layers of concrete are applied and compressed. This makes it possible to build the gas holders on the spot without using welding equipment. The different types of biogas plant make different demands on the skills the craftsman needs. In many countries, as in Thailand, the dome construction is the most important part of the course. In this course in Jamaica, 6 women and 2 men are being trained. Carmen Griffith explains.
The project that is happening here is I'm responsible for the training component of the construction of this biogas plant, which then makes this plant the first plant that they've constructed since they have completed training. You'll notice all around that they're now working on a bit of what they've done inside of the classroom, the construction of the plant. To make the completion time is 6 weeks, 4 weeks for construction and 2 weeks for commissioning.
For some of the trainees, this course will be the capital they need to set up on their own as craftsmen and women. I must point out that here in Burundi, we are not only interested in biogas because of the energy production potential. Minister of Energy Gilbert Midende emphasizes. It's also very important from the point of view of soil fertility. With biogas technology, the farmers can produce their own organic fertilizer. And I can assure you that we have chalked up a few successes in this field already. That can also be seen from the fact that private businessmen have shown an interest in biogas technology. CEDES, a private biogas dissemination company in Burundi, was founded in 1990. Dismas Ndita Beria, one of the founders, described the situation of the company today. With two colleagues, he says, I began to privatize the construction of biogas plants, especially plants designed for wastewater disposal, communal plants in other words. Currently, this here is our largest construction site, along with the Chankuzo biogas project. We're supervising construction work on 3 plants, each with 100 cubic meters capacity. We have another site in Cibitoke province for a 50 cubic meter plant. And we're performing a study on the opportunities presented by communal biogas plants in general for the renewable energy program. That's what our order book looks like at present. In 1989, the engineer Sanford Kombe set up in business under the name ABC Arusha Biomass Consultant. He previously worked as counterpart in a Tanzanian-German biogas dissemination program. Sanford Kombe still works closely with the Center for the Mechanization of Agriculture, Kamatec, which is responsible for biogas dissemination. Kombe has 3 permanent employees and not only builds plants, but also advises farmers and monitors their plants even after commissioning. His know-how is now in demand in neighboring countries too. He certainly hasn't regretted his decision to go it alone. The step into the free market is not always as smooth though, as Wolf Georg, GTZ biogas advisor in Bolivia, explains.
The problem for the future of these companies is that although there's beyond any shadow of a doubt a demand for family-level biogas plants, the potential customers very often do not have any access to credit which would enable them to purchase a plant. This, in turn, jeopardizes the future of the biogas companies. That's the major obstacle to dissemination. A biogas plant costs money. The family has to pay not only the construction costs, but also the maintenance costs. The advantages of the biogas plant for them are fuel and fertilizer, increased income, and a better quality of life in the form of light, heat, and improved hygiene. The family lives in a country, and poorer countries in particular have a lot to gain from a biogas plant. A reduction in firewood consumption means less erosion. The direct availability of energy steps up domestic production. Safe water means healthier people. The state is spared a lot of follow-on costs and problems. A lot of options are available to the state to promote the dissemination of biogas. For example, by extending loans or subsidies. Or by creating a positive climate for banks, companies and trade. Small farmers are generally not considered creditworthy by banks because they have no collateral to offer. The state could intervene here by setting up a credit line or by reinsuring the loans. A more positive investment climate for entrepreneurs and trade could be achieved by introducing environmentally oriented legislation and other structural policy measures, such as authorizing the duty-free import of gas appliances or promoting training in this sector. It's also important to coordinate the activities of everyone involved. In many countries, this role is firstly assumed by a technical cooperation project and gradually transferred to to a state agency or an NGO. In all countries which are taking part in the biogas dissemination program, efforts are being made to promote the introduction of the technology even more effectively. Examples from Jamaica and Thailand. We hear first from Jermaine Maudley from the Scientific Research Council in Jamaica, and then from Dr. Prida from the King Mongkut Institute of Technology in Thailand.
In terms of where the future lies, where we would like to go, it's a complex question. The answer in everybody's mind is commercialization. But of course, there is no particular model which will be consistent with every developing country or every country. Each country has to find a model that is best suited to their needs. It therefore means that one has to strive to find a fit within the own local framework and within the local resources, because resources, of course, is more than money. It's also the manpower and the will to achieve the objectives, and to find a way to realize such objectives within a particular time frame. Therefore, commercialization is one of our goals, but commercialization encompassing the fact that we have to define what is commercialization to Jamaica. It therefore means improving those linkages which presently exist between the institutions and coming up with some kind of joint understanding as to where we can go from here.
The government has already given some kind of financial incentive if the biogas technology is regarded as a technology for pollution abatement. Imported equipment under pollution abatement equipment would be entitled to import duty reduction more than 25%.
In research too, things are happening. These seeds are being treated with the fermented liquid in order to increase their germinating power, part of a Bolivian biogas project. Here, private biogas companies recommend that the liquid from the sludge be filtered and used for plant protection purposes. The liquid is distributed under the name Bio. The most widespread use of the sludge, however, is direct application as organic fertilizer to produce higher harvest yields. While some people are busy marketing the final products, computer specialists at the Asian Institute for Technology in Bangkok are designing programs which calculate the optimum cost-benefit ratio of biogas plants. Work is focusing in particular on determining the most economic model to prevent further pollution from industrial wastewater. In this pool full of water hyacinths, the organic wastewater from the biogas plant is treated again before being released into the river. More and more large-scale farmers are putting the advantages of biogas to work for them and for the environment. 23,000 pigs are kept on this farm in northern Thailand. The farm uses a lot of water for raising pigs and cleaning pens, and must then dispose of the heavily contaminated water. With time, this great sea of liquid manure has gathered, which literally stinks to high heaven. Neighbors are becoming increasingly angry. Finally, the farm owners decide to make an investment in environmental protection. They attend a question and answer session at a residents' meeting. With the help of biogas experts from Thailand and Germany, the farm operators present residents with a solution. A wastewater cleaning unit in the form of a so-called upflow anaerobic sludge blanket system, in short, UASB system. This is a biogas plant that has been developed specially to treat large quantities of wastewater. Construction begins immediately. The UASB system consists of two different sludge containers. First, the contaminated water from the pens is collected in a basin. Within 5 hours, the solids settle. Then the liquid is fed into the UASB plant. It runs through the plant from the bottom to the top, passing through a high bacteria zone known as the sludge blanket. This raises the purification effect. Settled sludge is regularly moved on to a fermenting channel, fermented and used as organic fertilizer. The clean water from the UASB plant then flows into a lagoon, which does not constitute an assault on the neighbor's nostrils.
Barbados is a very small island, and where our farm is situated, we're bordered by a housing estate. This can create a problem because of smell from the farm, and the digester helps us to eradicate the smell.
Worldwide, more than 5 million biogas plants are currently in operation. This figure could rise to 20 million by the end of the decade if the political will were there. That was the conclusion reached by an international biogas conference held in 1990 in India. Experience has shown that this technology has positive impacts on health, the standard of living, agriculture and the environment. Farmers in Germany have the same experience, as one of them tells us. Conventional agriculture today, he says, uses 6 calories of energy to produce 1 calorie in food energy. If you farm the way we do, he says, using crop rotation and biological treatments, the ratio is 1:1, because we produce additional energy and use less. You can keep a ratio of 1:1 going forever, but at 1:6, there comes a point where you just can't carry on. The farm is a cycle, and if at any point a lot has to be bought in, the farm is sick. That's an argument which he thinks applies to energy too. And a farm without biogas is sick, because it cannot produce its own energy. Even if all the rest of the cycle, the organic cycle, is okay. On a healthy farm today, we can produce our own energy thanks to biogas. But there's demand not only for agricultural biogas technology. Experts from overseas are also interested in producing gas from communal and industrial waste. At 70 German landfill sites, like this one in Karlstadt, gas from the lower layers is collected and transformed into electricity and heat. This landfill site produces energy for 1,200 households. One topic which is becoming increasingly important in our partner countries and in Germany is the improved treatment of communal and industrial wastewater. Biogas technology has its part to play here. More than 1,000 treatment plants in Germany produce gas from sewage sludge. 80 industrial enterprises, especially in food processing, use anaerobic procedures to clean wastewater and produce energy simultaneously. At Bonn's Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation, a decision has been taken on the status of biogas technology within technical cooperation. The head of the Energy Division, Carsten Hinrichs, tells us that in his opinion, the supra-regional biogas dissemination program of the ministry is exemplary for a technology dissemination program. For the first few years, he says, we've concentrated on technical problems tackled by German teams and local teams in several different developing countries. This brought us a wealth of experience, which was funneled into GTZ head office and generated new solutions, which in their turn were introduced in the partner countries. In the course of time, as the technology became more reliable, he tells us, we could turn our attention more to other aspects, such as the appropriateness of the technology in a given social environment, social acceptance, or economic viability and financing. The poorest developing countries in particular cannot always afford a dissemination program where the state must firstly pay subsidies. There were a whole series of questions to be answered, and indeed there are still many unanswered. But Carsten Hinrichs can well imagine that a similar course of action could be adopted in programs to disseminate technology of this sort in rural areas.
Of the total GTZ staff of some 1,000, 2 are responsible for coordinating biogas activities. They're responsible for organizing an exchange of experiences and establishing contacts with companies and institutes at home and abroad. The development of simple biogas plants has become a south-south technology transfer, with a brief stopover in the north somewhere in between. Gates Biogas Documentation Center now covers some 5,000 volumes, recording and analyzing international experience. Enquiries from all over the world are received and answered here. One thing is sure though, the best publicity for this biogas technology, which has even been a source of inspiration to reggae musicians, is a well-functioning plant.
Biogas, they come get your biogas. Hey, the people in the countryside I use biogas. People in the city them I use biogas. Let me tell you biogas that is a natural fact. Just said I invent that. Come, turn on the stove, pull down the pot, cook your food with biogas. Plug in the fridge, turn on your light. Yes, biogas, make everything run right. The biogas, they come get your biogas, the biogas. Hey, biogas, they get your biogas, they get your biogas, they come get your biogas now. Lord, the people in China I use biogas, people in Africa I use biogas, and now in Jamaica it's a natural park. Yes, biogas said that we build that, come get your own gas plant in your own backyard, get your own gas line. Yes, biogas, but everything on fine. The biogas now, they come get your biogas now. Lord, biogas, they get your biogas, they get your biogas, they come get your biogas now. Hey, the people in the countryside I use biogas, people in the city then I use biogas. To make a biogas, it is a natural fact. Just said I invent that. So turn on the stove, put on your pot, cook your food with biogas, plug in a fridge, turn on the light. Get the biogas, make everything run right. The biogas now, they come get your biogas now. Hey, biogas, they get your biogas, they get your biogas, they come get your biogas. Lord, people in China I use biogas, people in Africa I use biogas, and now in Jamaica it's a natural park. Yes, biogas and we build that. Come get your own gas plant in your own backyard, get your own gas line. Yes, biogas, make everything on right. The biogas, they come get your biogas now. Hey, all over the world, them I use biogas. Come get your own energy in your own